Ben Youngs questions England's direction as pressure mounts on Steve Borthwick ahead of France clash. Former England scrum half Ben Youngs believes the coming week could prove decisive for the future of Steve Borthwick as head coach of the England national rugby union team. Youngs suggested that the aftermath of England's recent run of heavy defeats may lead to internal frustrations surfacing within the squad, potentially creating a situation similar to the one that recently unfolded in New Zealand rugby. His comments follow the dramatic coaching change involving the New Zealand national rugby union team, where Scott Robertson was removed from his position and replaced by Dave Rennie. Reports suggested that feedback from senior players, particularly All Blacks captain Ardie Savea, played a role in accelerating the decision. For Youngs, the parallels between the two situations are difficult to ignore. The Ardie Savea precedent in New Zealand. Reports indicated that Savea had expressed significant concerns about the direction of the team under Robertson following a disappointing 2025 campaign. Some stories even suggested the influential number 8 was considering taking a sabbatical from international rugby rather than continuing under the existing coaching setup. While Robertson remained contracted until the Rugby World Cup 2027, the growing unrest within the playing group reportedly convinced New Zealand Rugby that a change was necessary sooner rather than later. The result was a swift and decisive move to appoint Rennie as the new head coach. Youngs believes England could now face a similar scenario if results and performances do not improve quickly. England's current struggles. England head into their next Six Nations Championship match against France national rugby union team in Paris under enormous pressure. A run that once included a 12-match winning streak has collapsed dramatically. Instead of building momentum, England have endured 3 painful defeats that have raised serious questions about the team's direction and leadership. The slump began with another defeat in the Calcutta Cup clash against Scotland national rugby union team, continuing a frustrating pattern of losses to their historic rivals. Things worsened when Ireland national rugby union team traveled to Twickenham and put 42 points past England in a comprehensive victory. But the most damaging result came last weekend when England suffered a shock defeat to Italy national rugby union team. The first time in history the Azzurri had beaten England. The result sent shockwaves through the rugby world and intensified scrutiny of Borthwick's leadership. Youngs reflects on the Rome debacle speaking on the podcast For the Love of Rugby, which he co-hosts with fellow England international Dan Cole. Youngs dissected the performance against Italy and questioned what it revealed about the team's mindset. This is why this weekend is really interesting. Youngs said, "We saw what Ardie Savea said about Razor, Scott Robertson, and that publicly came out." Youngs suggested that players often reveal their true feelings through their performances on the field. "You look at what you mentioned about buy-in to the system," he continued. "Players always show their cards eventually." For Youngs, the match against France will provide a clear indication of whether the England squad still believes in Borthwick's methods or whether doubts are beginning to creep in. Concerns about a damage limitation approach. One of Young's biggest fears is that England could adopt an overly cautious game plan when they face France, rather than attempting to play expansively or challenge the hosts aggressively. He worries the team may instead focus on avoiding a heavy defeat. To illustrate his concern, Youngs recalled England's encounter with France during the 2022 Six Nations Championship. In that match, France were chasing a Grand Slam, and England traveled to Paris knowing they faced a formidable challenge. According to Youngs, the game plan at the time seemed overly conservative. "We went to that game, and it felt like we were set up not to win," he said. "The game plan that week was almost damage limitation. Just hang in there." Although England ultimately lost only 25-13, the approach left a lasting impression on Youngs. For him, the result reinforced the danger of entering a match with a mindset focused on containment rather than victory. The shadow of Eddie Jones' departure. The defeat in that 2022 match did not immediately cost Eddie Jones his job, but it was part of a broader pattern that ultimately led to his dismissal later that year. Jones was replaced by Borthwick, who arrived with a reputation for tactical precision and strong leadership after a successful stint with Leicester Tigers. However, the situation now feels eerily familiar to Youngs. He believes England may be approaching a moment of truth regarding Borthwick's tenure. All the conversation is going to be around whether he's the right person to see this through, Young said. It feels like a bit of a stick or twist moment. The phrase reflects a crucial dilemma for the Rugby Football Union. Should they remain committed to Borthwick's long-term vision, or should they consider making a change before the next World Cup cycle progresses too far? The global coaching landscape Youngs pointed out that England would not be alone in making major decisions ahead of the next global tournament. Several international teams are already undergoing coaching transitions. New Zealand have replaced Robertson with Rennie, while Australia. National Rugby Union team are also preparing for a change. Current Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt is expected to step down, with Les Kiss widely tipped to take over, a particularly significant move as Australia prepares to host the Rugby World Cup 2027. Given these developments, Youngs believes England's leadership must carefully evaluate their own position. Someone has to make the call, he said. They either genuinely believe England can get there, or they don't. The inevitability of internal discussions, Youngs is convinced that conversations about England's future are already taking place behind closed doors. We'd be fools if we think those conversations are not happening, he said. Even if no formal decision has been made, the mounting pressure on Borthwick means his position will inevitably be debated within rugby circles. The upcoming clash with France could therefore carry significance beyond the immediate result. A strong performance might restore confidence and quiet the speculation. Another heavy defeat, however, could intensify call for change. That Dan Cole defends Borthwick while Youngs expressed concern about England's direction. His podcast co-host Dan Cole offered a more supportive perspective. Cole believes Borthwick remains the best person to lead England forward. I've said how much of a pro, Steve Borthwick person I am, he explained. Cole acknowledged that the results have been disappointing, but warned against making impulsive decisions based solely on short-term frustrations in modern sport. He argued, emotional reactions can often create bigger problems than they solve. The danger of knee-jerk reactions. Cole emphasized that replacing a head coach should only happen if there's a clear alternative plan. You can't just make a knee-jerk reaction unless there's a plan in place, he said. Across professional sport, whether in rugby, football, or even the National Football League, teams sometimes sack coaches in response to poor results without fully considering the long-term consequences. Such decisions can lead to instability and further decline. Cole believes England must avoid falling into that trap, that confidence in Borthwick's work ethic despite the criticism surrounding the team. Cole remains confident that Borthwick is working tirelessly to address England's problems. From his experience playing under Borthwick at Leicester Tigers, Cole knows the coach's commitment to preparation and improvement. Trust me, he said, no one will delve deeper into it than Steve and his coaching staff. Cole described Borthwick as someone who refuses to ignore issues or make excuses. Instead, he believes the coach will be analyzing every aspect of England's performances to find solutions. That a coach determined to find answers. According to Cole, Borthwick will not shy away from confronting difficult truths about the team's recent struggles. The defining weeks ahead as England prepare to face France in Paris. The stakes could hardly be higher. The result of that match may not determine Borthwick's future immediately, but it will certainly shape the narrative surrounding his tenure. That a moment of truth for England rugby the coming weeks may ultimately determine the trajectory of England rugby in the years leading up to the next World Cup.